It's a surreal thing, sitting there on the porch with the warm Montana morning sun hitting your face, while 20 charter buses rumble through your open gate, for 100 tourists hopping out like they're in a zoo exhibit, all of them with cameras aimed at my land. Darlene, the HOA president from the neighborhood next door, is standing there with her megaphone, telling them this is some kind of legal heritage tour. She's been pulling this stunt for 6 months, making $68,000 off my property, money I never saw. Before all this, though, she spent years forging documents, trying to steal land my grandfather fought for at Normandy. That's how we got here. I'm watching these buses roll through, waiting for the last tourist to step off. Then, with the press of a button, I'll lock the steel gate behind them. 10 seconds pass, and the chaos starts. Darlene's mascara is running in the heat, and she's sprinting toward me, screaming that I can't do this. I'm already back on the porch, coffee in hand, calm as anything. Let her spend the next 4 hours learning exactly what I can do. What would you do? My name's Hollis Brennan. I'm 52. Spent 25 years as an Army Corps engineer before I inherited 240 acres of Montana ranch land from my grandfather in 2019. Dutch Brennan bought this land in 1947 with blood and sweat, fighting across France, all the way to Normandy. After he came home, he bought up this land no one else wanted, rocky, steep, filled with pine trees, and built something that mattered. Not wealth, just legacy. The land's got natural hot springs tucked away in a valley, hiking trails that Dutch carved out in the 50s, and a wildlife corridor that's been undisturbed for 70 years. His dying words to me were, "Keep it wild, Hollis. Don't let them pave paradise." I moved back from Seattle to honor that. Renovated the 1940s ranch house, ran a small timber operation, and lived quietly, splitting wood, tracking elk, reading at sunset. I've got 2 daughters, Ramsey, 29, an environmental lawyer, and Cleo, 26, a paramedic. Their mother and I divorced in 2018, but we've kept things amicable. I kept the land I should have come back to years earlier, and for a year it was perfect. Then Pinnacle Ridge Estates broke ground next door, a luxury subdivision on 400 acres of old ranch land. 85 lots. Homes selling for $800,000 to $2 million. The McMansions, stone facades, 4-car garages, the whole deal. The HOA covenant was 47 pages long, listing everything from grass height to paint colors. I read it once and laughed so hard I nearly choked on my coffee. Then I met Darlene Voss, 58, a real estate broker from Connecticut. Helmet of hairsprayed blonde hair, pastel blazers. Mint green was her signature color, and a white Escalade with vanity plates that read President. She ran unopposed for HOA president and promised property value protection. What she actually delivered was weaponized bylaws. She fined people for grass being too high, mailboxes being too tall, dogs barking after 9 p.m. People were terrified. Spring 2021, she cornered me at Safeway. I was picking through apples when she appeared, like a debt collector in heels. "Your split-rail fence is charming," she said with a smile full of too many teeth, "but clashes with our aesthetic. We'd like you to upgrade to black aluminum. We'll contribute $2,000. I stared at her. That fence has been there since 1947. My grandfather built it. Quaint, but Pinnacle Ridge has standards, she said. I'm not in your HOA, I reminded her. Her smile froze. Expect cooperation, she said, voice dropping, or you'll regret that attitude. A week later, the county inspector showed up at my door, an anonymous complaint about illegal structures, unpermitted additions, and environmental violations. I showed him around. Every building had permits, original ones from the 40s, kept in Dutch's fireproof safe. The inspector sighed. Someone's wasting both our time, but I have to file a report. As he left, I saw Darlene's Escalade parked down the road, binoculars on the dashboard. Just sitting there, watching. That cost me $3,200 in legal fees to compile permit documentation. My lawyer told me, "She's testing you." 2 weeks later, two Pinnacle Ridge residents, Garrett and Simone Ortiz, caught me at the hardware store. They whispered, "Darlene did this to the guy before you. 47 complaints in 18 months. He sold at a loss. She wanted the land for HOA green space." I didn't intend to be that guy. That fall, I attended a town council meeting to renew my timber permit. Darlene was presenting all smiles and PowerPoint slides. "The Glacier View Highway was underutilized," she said. "We should partner with tourism operators." Her slideshow included a marked viewpoint right on my property line. I filed it away for later. That evening, I stood at my grandfather's grave, a small cemetery on Mountain View. Dutch's headstone read, 1923 to 2019. The wind whispered through the pines like old men talking, and I thought to myself, she doesn't know who she's dealing with. I looked at Dutch's grave. You didn't take orders from Nazis, and I'm not taking orders from a woman whose license plate can't spell. Somewhere, an elk bugled, echoing across the valley. I smiled. This was just beginning. Fall 2021, Darlene filed a petition with the county, claiming my land had a historic public easement. Her proof? 3 affidavits from Pinnacle Ridge residents saying that locals had hiked the trail to the hot springs for generations. The photos she submitted showed a Boy Scout troop from 1982 camping near the springs. When I pulled the original letter from Dutch, it was clear she'd altered it. She edited out the parts that didn't fit her story. I was furious. Ramsey, my daughter, a sharp environmental lawyer, looked at the petition. "Dad, she's photoshopped the documents." We hired a surveyor, a meticulous guy named Cal, who spent 3 weeks walking the property line with GPS gear. His report was 12 pages long, but it boiled down to one thing. Darlene was full of it. The public trail she referenced was on HOA land, not mine. The hearing in November was a formality. Darlene showed up with a lawyer in a suit that probably cost more than my truck. 20 minutes later, her petition was denied. No credible evidence of a historic easement. One of the commissioners, Frank Tillman, said the word fraud out loud, and I swear I could feel Darlene's heart drop. Outside, she confronted me, her face crimson with rage. "You think you've won? I've got resources you can't imagine," she spat. I loaded my files into my truck, barely looking at her. "I've got something you'll never have," I said. "Actual roots here. People know my family. They don't know you." I watched her stand there, frozen, fists clenched. That night, I sat on the porch with some Maker's Mark, Dutch's whiskey of choice. The air was cold. I opened Dutch's journal to the entry from 1982. The leather cover had softened from his hands over the years. He'd told the scout leader to use the springs for the weekend, but made it clear that this land wasn't for just anyone. "This land is a trust, not a commodity," he'd written. I thought about the land, about what it meant to protect it. I'd read once about a legal concept called adverse possession. If someone used your land for 20 years without challenge, they could claim legal ownership. Darlene's tours had been running for 18 months. That was a close call. I didn't want to wait around, though. I didn't plan on playing by her rules. So I waited. The next move would be mine. I spent the next few months documenting every trespass, every broken fence. The sheriff wasn't happy about it, but I kept it on record. Then, in March 2022, the tour buses started rolling through daily. Darlene didn't care about the law. She was making money, and that was all that mattered. But she wasn't going to get away with it. She was about to learn the true meaning of a property line.